the G chord. G chord looks like this. So what you need to do is put your first finger on string 5 just behind fret 2. Then your second finger goes on string 6 behind fret 3. And your third finger goes on string 1 just behind fret 3. And it sounds like this. There's a couple of different variations to a G chord that you might find scouring the internet. The one I'm showing you here is by far the easiest one, is just using 3 fingers. Some people like to use 4 fingers, they'll do this, you know, all different variations. Just do this one if you're brand new to the guitar and you're watching this video and you want to learn something about guitar. Just do the easy one first. Here we go. So let me walk you through that again. With the palm, you got to keep that in front of the strings, and that enables the fingers to be curled enough that they're pressing down the strings, only the string they're supposed to be pressing down, and not touching any other strings. One last thing about the G chord is it's a 6-string chord. So when you take your pick here and you strum down across all the strings, you want to start at the low 6th string and strum straight up to the 1st string. Okay, so here's the C and the G. Let's move to another one now, the D chord. D chord is my favorite. This is a great sounding chord. Now, it's a little bit challenging though, because what you may notice about the C chord is that we were skipping some strings, so the hand was a little bit more open, and the G chord, obviously, the hand is wide open. D chord, everything's crammed in here, so this is going to be a bit challenging for you. But if you follow my example here and keep the palm of your hand in front of the strings, you should get this almost right away. So where do you put your fingers? For the D chord, you want to put your first finger on string 3 fret 2, your second finger on string 1 fret 2, and your third finger on string 2 behind fret 3. Now this is a 4-string chord. So you want to start on the 4th string, the D string, and strum down to the 1st string. Okay, so let's talk about what most of the time happens with beginner guitarists. They'll get the palm in front of their hand because I'm a stickler on it, and I tell them, no, move your palm, bend your wrist, bend your wrist. However, one of the things that's really challenging about this one still, even after you do the whole bending the wrist thing, is getting enough pressure on the 1st string with the middle finger. For some reason, when you cram all your fingers into one position like this, most of the time people don't press down hard enough and you get a muted 1st string. So you get this chord that sounds great on the first 3 strings, and the top string is muted out. So just really make sure you get enough pressure on there to sound out all 4 notes. Alright, so here's C, G, D. Let's move on to A now. Alright, so the A chord looks like this and sounds like this. The A chord is another one that's a little bit challenging because you have to really squeeze all your fingers in here to get this chord to sound right. So where do I put my fingers? Well, the first finger is on string 4 behind fret 2. The second finger is on string 3 behind fret 2, and the third finger is on string 2 behind fret 2. So I've got 3 fingers here that are all utilizing the same fret, and they're on adjacent strings. So this is going to be challenging. Everything's really crammed in here. Most people complain a little bit that they can't play this chord because it's too tight. Well, just keep practicing. You'll get it. It'll be fine. So here's how this chord sounds. It's a 5-string chord. So you start on the 5th string and strum straight down to your leg on the 1st string. Again, I keep reiterating this because it's really important. Keep your palm in front of the strings. You want to put your thumb up there? Fine, do whatever you want. But just keep the palm in front of the strings. So here's what it looks like with the palm in front of the strings and my thumb over top. Chord still rings out just fine. Okay, the last and final chord for this lesson video is the E chord. This is a really great sounding chord. It's really lush and huge. Okay, so where do I put my fingers? Well, for the E chord, you want to put your first finger on string 3, fret 1, Second finger is string 5, just behind fret 2, and the third finger is on string 4, behind fret 2. Okay, so just like the A chord, where we had everything crammed together here, the E chord, the third finger and the second finger are going to have to share the same fret. So one of the fingers is going to have to go slightly behind the other, and that's the second finger. And it's a 6-string chord, so you just start on the 6th string, just like the G chord, and strum straight down. Okay, so this chord has probably the most common error of all. This is, I mean, I teach this chord to tons of people every week, and most of the time the most common mistake that happens is the first finger goes on the 2nd string. And that makes a chord sound like this. This is not the E chord. You have to have your first finger on string 3, fret 1. So in the beginning of the lesson we were talking about happy and sad. So all of these chords, C, G, D, A, and E, are happy sounds. C, G, D, A, and E. Alright, let's finish out the video with an explanation of how to practice this material. This is the key. If you want to play the guitar, you have to know how to practice right. It isn't about learning new material. Oh my gosh, you can go online and just spend millions of hours learning new material. You can get stuff that's way over your head, you can get stuff that's super easy, you can buy tons of books, but you have to know how to practice this material in order to get anywhere. So I'm going to show you 2 incredibly valuable ways to practice this stuff, and you will thank me. Trust me, you'll thank me. This is good stuff here. Okay, so how do we practice these chords? First thing you have to do is get rid of the right hand completely. You just set your pick down next to you and just rest your guitar, or rest your hand right on your guitar. And you have to just fret these chords with your left hand only. Here's what your hand is most likely going to look if you're just playing this chord for the first time. You're going to go like this. First finger, second finger, third finger. You're going to do the walk-in is what I call it. Like that. Some people start with the third finger and go down. Some people start with the second finger and walk in. But however you do it, it's probably going to look like this. So what you need to do is you have to put your hands on the C chord, take your hand off and put it in a neutral shape. Don't do this. Don't take it off and just go right back and forth. No, take it off, go to a neutral shape, and then try your hardest to put your hands into a C chord shape, all fingers down simultaneously. So here's what it's going to look like initially. You're going to do this kind of walk in to the chord. What you want to do is go C chord, hands off, C chord, hand off, back and forth like this. And just do a ton of repetitions of working on your C chord like this. How many times should you do this? I don't know. I don't know how many times. As many times as it takes for you to go from a neutral hand position to the C chord with no problem. You got to do that with all 5 of these chords. So here's what it looks like. C, C, G, G. Now to the D, 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 A, and E. E chord. Okay, so that is one really valuable way to practice these